podcast time. So, welcome to the Too Much to Say podcast, where we have Too Much to Say, episode 17. Bo Burnham takes us to 8th grade. We are live at twitch.tv/2m2s. You can join us every Tuesday and every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for a live podcast. If not, we are always available at Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, anywhere podcasts are found. And make sure to go back through. There are a bunch of good episodes in the past where we go in about things like vaccines and man, I'm blanking. And that's not even the value of truth, cost of truth. And if you're into sports, we do a sports podcast every Saturday. So the Saturday episode is always a sports podcast, and the Tuesday episode is always culture, politics, life in general. So whichever one you like, if you like both, then check it out on. Those are always. If you go on the podcast, there's always the .5 episode. But let's go ahead and hop into the weekly random. We're gonna first start off with one that's strikes a little close to home for me. As you can tell, I'm from Georgia. Mentioned it a few times. But Sacha Baron Cohen this week released, I think it's episode 2 of his new show called Who is America? But he this week he got Jason Spencer, a Georgia State House of Representatives, to interact with him. He posed as an anti-terrorist, I guess, instructor on how to deal with terrorism and that sort of thing. And he then convinced Jason Spencer to, in order, the question was posed because Jason Spencer is against people against burqas and created something called an anti-masking law, which was a fancy way, not a fancy even. Let's giving him too much credit here. A way to hide his bigotry against. And he even admits it. And I recommend checking this out on YouTube. You can Google Jason Spencer, Who is America? But anyway, he convinces him that he asks him, "Can you tell if someone in a burqa is a woman or a terrorist?" And Jason Spencer, oh no, I can't. And he said, "We've developed a method to do that." And he then convinced Jason Spencer to imitate a Chinese person, a Chinese tourist with a selfie stick, and to then take a picture underneath someone's burqa with the selfie stick. Jason Spencer then proceeds to do the most inaccurate and racist imitation of a Chinese person possibly ever conceived. And to then take a picture up somebody up this, at this point, an actor's burqa, but just the concept in general. And the dude's like fully into it. He like, you can see on his face when Sacha Baron Cohen's talking, he is just fully engaged and excited about everything that Sacha Baron Cohen's saying. It's insane. Anyway, he then afterwards, in order to scare Sacha Baron Cohen says, I'm going to teach you, if something happens, I'm going to teach you how to scare someone. He then gets Jason Spencer to yell the N-word about 5 or 6 times at full voice, recorded for Showtime. He's a Georgia State. He's a representative in the Georgia State House. Not he doesn't go to, he's not national, doesn't go, but He's an elected official on a state level in Georgia, and he's yelling the N word, acting like a Chinese person. Yeah, like I said, it's the most racist thing ever. He starts like talking about like Red Dragon and Hong Kong and Konnichiwa. I mean, it's not only inaccurate, but very racist. Um, and then for Sacha Baron Cohen's last trick, he convinces Jason Spencer that if a Muslim person, if you touch a Muslim person with your butt, that Muslim person will turn gay. And the dude believes it and proceeds to pull his pants down and chase Sacha Baron Cohen around, butt first, and then pull his underwear down to do the same damn thing. And it is both the funniest and saddest thing I have seen in a very long time. I mean, it's not Trump level, but it's close. And I recommend you if you have to see it to believe it. Truly see it to believe it. It is Jason Spencer, Who is America? Oh, and by the way, in the fallout, because this is Tuesday, this came out on Sunday, the dude still hasn't resigned because he's in Georgia and I guess racism's okay. He just acted like, oh, I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, bullshit. anyway, anyway, check it out. It's on YouTube. Um, and apparently there's going to be a lot more of these, so I am looking forward to the future episodes from Sacha Baron Cohen. I'm not a huge fan of Sacha Baron Cohen, and but at the same time, and I mean, I get you kind of view it sort of as entrapment. You're tricking somebody, but no sane person, like if you and this is the same thing about Trump. If you strip away all the racism, all the sexism, all the bigotry, all you're left is with a stupid old man. Now Jason Spencer's a little less young, a little less old, so just a stupid man. It's just it's flabbergasting. It really like I said, you have to see it to believe it. To watch a Georgia a representative of the Georgia State House chase someone or yelling America and you yelling America and USA at Sacha Baron Cohen with his underwear right beneath his butt, just naked bare ass, just chasing the dude around. It is it's hilarious and sad and depressing, but still funny. Just we just now we just got to get him out. We just got to get him out. It's a positive thing in the sense that you've exposed this person for who they are. It's sad that it is what it is, but better to know it and to get rid of him. So hopefully that happens. We'll see. All right. And all right, next, moving on from Georgia's shame to the U.S.'s shame, Maria Butina has been accused of being a Russian agent, an unregistered Russian agent, and who has basically sold sex and guns to infiltrate U.S. politics. She came over here under the guise of the NRA. She duped the NRA. Well, I say duped, but they should have known what they were getting when they knew she was Russian. She started her own gun advocacy group over in Russia and came over that way. And she's just been indicted this week as a covert Russian agent. So to just throw that one, we have one more indictment in from Robert Mueller, essentially from his investigation. But but it's a complete waste of our time. But that's what Trump tells us, and what Trump says is true. That's what he told us. Even today, he told us that we should ignore what we see and what we hear. Everything's going okay. Also, Trump is considering revoking the security clearances of 6 former Obama officials who are Trump critics. But here's the list. These are the former, in quotes, former Obama officials. John Brennan, an independent who was nominated by George Bush for the newly established Director of Counterterrorism Center in 2014. And then served for the next 13 years. Served from 2004 until 2017, so under Bush and then Obama. James Comey, who's a Republican, or has been for most of his life, former, attorney, attorney general. James Clapper, Republican, nominated by George W., served until this year, until 2017. Michael Hayden, independent, served as director of the NSA under Bill Clinton in '99, and then for George Bush in 2005, and then was then raised to the newly created position of Deputy Director of National Intelligence, and served continuously from 1999 until 2009. And then was replaced. He served under Obama for 23 days and was replaced. So didn't even serve under Obama. But he's a former Obama official. And then Susan Rice, who is actually a Democrat and served under Obama. So only one of the 6 people is a Obama official, but they're all lifelong public servants. They've all done a fantastic job, and they now have issues because Trump's a maniac. It's just amazing. Anyway, let's hop over to the let's move on to happier things. We have a happy episode today, so let's do the Reddit shower thought of the week. And it seems a little. Recently, I've gotten more into Twitter. Twitter wasn't my social media of choice. That's typically Reddit. But I've gotten more into Twitter. Trying to promote. Too much to say a little bit, and we talk a lot about politics on here. So, but anyway, the Reddit shower thought of the week is: making a typo in an online argument is the equivalent of voice cracking in a verbal argument. This comes from Metamite123, user Metamite123, and I think it's perfect. It's a very apt. The very apt description. It's just, I always feel a little bit of shame. On any tweet, argument or not, there's always shame when there's a typo. Especially when I'm just trying to type something up really fast, and I just, reverse some letters or miss a letter or something like that. There's always a little bit of shame. But if it's in an argument, it just feels that much worse. All right. Give that a refresh there. All right. Let's move on to the main event here. Which is Bo Burnham takes us to 8th grade. Now, getting ready for this, I admittedly watched a fair amount of Bo Burnham's material again. I say again because little biased, and it was kind of hard to kind of figure out kind of where to go with this, because we're just going to talk about his work. We're actually not going to show it. We're not going to listen to it because it's his. It's not what we're here to do. But Bo Burnham, but let's start this off why we're talking about it today instead of any other day. Bo Burnham recently released a movie named 8th Grade. It started off in Sundance, did really well, and then was released in New York and LA. And I had the fortune, thank you, A24, to go to an early release here in Atlanta last Thursday. And we're actually going to break down, at the end of all this, I'm going to break down 8th grade. But I want to talk about first how we got here. How did we get to the point where Bo Burnham, a 27-year-old male comic, creates a widely acclaimed, seemingly, I mean, claimed to be accurate movie about an eighth grade girl and her, her final week of eighth grade. So, who's Bo Burnham? Well, to start off, I guess Bo Burnham was born in Massachusetts. He was born August 21st, 1990, in Massachusetts, and he basically was one of the first YouTube stars. At the age of 16, he released his first two YouTube songs. But he didn't even do this trying to get famous or anything like that. He was just trying to share them with his brother, who had gone away to school. And basically, the way we're going to break down his journey is to start off here in YouTube. We're going to go to stage, television, and then finally his movie. So these two songs, one of which is called My Whole Family, and the other is My Little Secret. The first one's about his whole family thinking he's gay, and the second one is about him having a small penis. His style, as you can see, is a combination. His comedy style, I should say, because what's crazy about all this is his comedy and his stand-up and his songs, because he's basically gonna spend the next. I mean, he's been active now for 12 years. He started off in 2006. His first songs came out December 21st, 2006, and we're now, it's July 2018. So he's been active for almost 12 years. It's been 11 and a half years, just about. And he's going to then spend the next, 3 years graduating high school. He's going to release actually about, let's see here. During his high school years, he's going to release a total of 9 YouTube videos and a comedy album for Comedy Central. He actually signs a 4 album deal with Comedy Central, and he releases his first in June of 2008. He releases his first album. It's really an extended release, but his first album that's called Bo Show, which is one of his songs, and it comes with an additional 6 songs. But he's actually so well received at this point that he is invited to kind of a YouTube celebration. You have to understand, YouTube started out in 2005. And it was like, I think it was February 2005, and then he releases his first song a year and 10 months later. And so that first song being My Whole Family, and then My Little Secret, and then about 3 months later, he releases 3.14 Apple Pie, The Perfect Woman. See, there's a couple things about his style. So, like I said, it's self-deprecating. It's generally ironic. It's one of these 3 things, or a combination. Generally, a combination of clever, ironic, or self-deprecating. And his YouTube style, what's really fascinating is his YouTube style is very raw and kind of voyeuristic. You catch him in his room with his piano or guitar. And he then sings either a pop song that he's created or a white person's rap. And his 3.14 Apple Pie is actually a rap song. But one of my favorite things, and this is kind of where I think we start to see the genesis of where 8th grade is coming from, is the irony that he drips in so many of his songs, where he makes a lot of social and artistic commentary through irony. Basically talks about the same things that he's kind of denigrating, showing the listener or viewer when once we get to stage, it kind of increases as he goes as a comic, where he feels a little more confident in his method of expression. But he slowly, I mean, his fourth release is The Perfect Woman, and it's all about Helen Keller. And I mean, and let's be honest, his style is not child friendly. It is generally offensive, but in a way to see my thoughts on being offensive, swearing, and generally lewd content is it, you shouldn't be aiming for either. You shouldn't be aiming to be clean when doing an artistic venture. You shouldn't be trying to be clean, and nor should you try to be dirty. Being dirty for dirty's sake is just as bad as trying to be clean for clean's sake. You, it's not honest. The whole point is being honest, and that's kind of where he's gonna go. He's not there yet. In his first YouTube, it's kind of all just like most of it's clever. I recommend you can go check out all of his YouTube. You just Google Bo Burnham YouTube, and he has a whole channel, and all of these are still up there for you to listen to. Um, but so in his early YouTube, it's generally just kind of clever, self-deprecating, some irony, but not so much like not as much social commentary. He does definitely cover misogyny, like The Perfect Woman. He talks about her needing to be quiet, and it's perfect that she's quiet and she can't talk and all these things. Um, but then he kind of his first hit was My Whole Family. His second, I guess the second hit would be New Math, and this kind of moves us into it's just simply a clever song, clever yeah, just basically a clever song about random observations. And and then his most popular song, actually his most popular song period on YouTube, most popular video is I'm Boyo. Um it's not really a stylistic change. I mean, I would say this is when this is June of 2008. It's either right before he graduates or right after he graduates. And we've actually had a huge wait before New Math. So New Math, so Bofo Show, the YouTube video was released on September 24th, 2007. He then doesn't release another song or another song on YouTube anyway until New Math, which is June 3rd, 2008. And if you actually look at it, here, let me hold on. Let me pull up my the breakdown what I got going here. Um, One of the things when I was putting this all together that I noticed in his career is that you'll see, there are just he doesn't have a constant stream of content. He'll generally take off like he releases the two songs back to back to start off. My Whole Family, My Little Secret, same day. He then 79 days later he releases two songs on the same day: 3.14 Apple Pie and The Perfect Woman. It's then 71 days later that he releases his next song. And then 116 days later, and it's not really anything, a PSA from Bo Burnham that's telling you not to do drugs. And it's not, it's ironic. It's supposed to make fun of the drug PSAs because, quite frankly, they're silly. um, and then 11 days, but basically it's 116 days or 717 days, and he releases Bo for Show on YouTube, and then 253 days until New Math. 14 days later is Bo for Show, the album, and I'm Boyo is on the same day. So it's like this whole just outpouring, 253 days between Bo for Show and New Math. But I mean, Bo for Show, the album is his longest work to date. It's an 18-minute comedy album. And then we then go from then there's a whole nother gap right after that, right after he graduated, where he's then invited to this, YouTube party, where he sings "Welcome to YouTube," and I definitely recommend watching it, if only to, to see. So, "Welcome to YouTube" has Katy Perry. When you come into the song, there's Katy Perry on like a baby grand piano. She's laying on it, looking all sultry, and like a Barbie, she sounds like a bimbo. It's um sad. Anyway, she's introducing Bo and makes some comment about, oh, thank heavens he's 18, and when after the introduction he says, "Thank you, Mrs. Perry," and then proceeds to do a song both celebrating and mocking YouTube at the same time at the YouTube party. It's not his best song, but I definitely recommend it because it's funny. It's just I recommend almost all of his stuff. His older stuff, I really like My Whole Family. Um, Rehab Center for Fictional Characters. Eh. The PSA is okay. Immediately after Welcome to YouTube is High School Party. That's kind of blah, to be honest. So is How to Be a YouTube Star. Um, but then there's our next gap. Right after High School Party, which comes 7 days after Welcome to YouTube, is his next album. Well, is How to Be a YouTube Star, which is just kind of like another, like him just talking. But then he releases Bo Burnham, his next album, which is like is a again his next largest work to date. It's a 42-minute album. Let's see. It has a total of 13 songs on it. Um, so that was a 3 month gap. Releases a whole another 42-minute album. Let's see here. It looks like it's not even a year after his first album. His first album is June 2008. His next album is March 2009. And then 6 days after that, he releases "Love Is," which is actually a song. So in a 6 day span, he releases 2 YouTube videos and a comedy album. He then goes dark again for 190. This is on YouTube anyway. For 199 days to release the Twitter song, just basically announcing he's on Twitter. It's like 5 seconds long, 35 seconds long. Um, Only to go dark again for 348 days, and where he releases "Words, Words, Words," and then over the next, what is it, 39? It's like 40 days. He releases "Words, Words, Words," a music video, which is his first like actually produced music video. This is the one. If he kind of he's in his room, but it kind of the work like room breaks apart. It's probably his best video. Like YouTube, repeat stuff's pretty good. I like this one better than repeat stuff. This is probably his best music video. That's not just a voyeuristic video. Um, but yeah, so he releases "Words, Words, Words," the song. 30 days later, it's a song called "Rant," and then he drops his next comedy album, which now we've had a year and 7 months between from May 2009 to October 2010. His next comedy album, "Words, Words, Words," which I think is his best received comedy album. And then he drops "Oh Bo," and then he drops "Art Is Dead." Like, I mean, he takes about a year off, almost a year and a half off, a little more than a year and a half actually, and then just proceeds to drop like 4 YouTube videos and a comedy album, all within a month and a half. Um, and that kind of ends his that kind of ends To be honest, that ends his YouTube days. Mind you, also in 2009 was his first comedy tour. He actually began touring in 2009 to 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, break in 2014. Probably another one of his big breaks was 2014. And then 2015, 2016. So Bo Burnham, the YouTube star, releases a total of 4 comedy albums, goes on 5 comedy tours. I guess up to this point, we're at 2010. He's been on 2 comedy tours. He's released 3 albums, and let's see here, 18 YouTube videos. And then he goes on what seems to be his longest break. He is touring at this point, only to release. So from October 28th of 2010 until May 2nd of 2013, no new content has been released on YouTube, or from what I could tell, anywhere. He's done plenty. He does plenty of. I mean, if you look it up, you can find interviews. You can find, you know, snippets of his comedy tours. But he then this is his least well received venture. He produces and stars in a television show for MTV called Zach Stone is Gonna Be Famous. It lasts for a total of 6 episodes and is then canceled. I'm going to be honest with you, though. It's actually quite fantastic. You can get it on Amazon for like $10. There's 12 episodes total. It only lasts for 6 episodes. But it's a combination of Bo, obviously. He actually doesn't do most of the writing. He does produce and star in, and he does writing for the first show. But there are other writers for it as well. But it's just, I don't think MTV was the right place. I think, and I don't know if he would have been able to get the funding for this. I think it should have been on YouTube. It is so similar to The Office, but so much like it's so cringe. Like it's just this cringe humor. Like he is Michael Scott, but like a teenager who wants to be famous and is trying to push everybody away and become this person who he's not, essentially. I definitely recommend it. It's on Amazon, like I said, $10. And then 5 months later, he releases a new Egghead, what is called Egghead, or You Can't Survive on Ideas Alone, and it's like a collection of poems and some really random drawings. Not random, eclectic, because they do apply to the poems. And these poems he actually uses in subsequent tours, and he could go on stage and just read some of them. And by read, I mean from memory, because I always acts like he has a book of poems, but he doesn't. But it's interesting because after Zach Stone is going to be famous, YouTube's kind of done. There seems to be, I don't know what happened personally, but it seems to be at that point a transition from YouTube to going full stage. I mean, he does create, let's see here, two more YouTube videos, but one of them is which is his comedy tour. It's just a taping of one of his shows on the comedy tour, and it's fantastic. It's actually the first thing that I was introduced to by Bo Burnham. Mind you, now Bo Burnham is random humor, so he's random, he's ironic, He's he's um he's self-deprecating, swears a whole bunch, but he also does like I said, political and artistic commentary. I mean, I think, and it really you see that come through more in his stage. I feel like most of what he does on YouTube was kind of just funny, clever, self-deprecating a little bit, but there's some commentary. Like I said, he comments on misogyny, that sort of thing. But then he transitions from that to his stand-up shows, which are just dripping in like political and artistic commentary, and even kind of like what seems to be self-introspection. And I think, despite what he says, it's because if you ever hear Bo, if you ever listen to any of his interviews, he's going to tell you that his stand up is not about him, and I do believe that, just not completely. I just think that when you watch What and you watch Make Happy, which are his two comedy specials, one of which is on YouTube. The other, they're actually both on. One's on YouTube and they're both on Netflix. The second one was actually produced and written specifically for Netflix. Um, I if you don't watch anything else he does, I definitely recommend What and Make Happy. That for me, like he just as obviously he. I mean, this is a kid who grew up on YouTube and on the stage. And he starts off, I mean, you can see it in his comedy. He just matures until he reaches Make Happy. And in the middle, between What and Make Happy, he releases one YouTube video that's very well produced. It's called Repeat Stuff. And it's basically just a commentary about how pop music is broken and horrible at this point. And it's pretty accurate. I mean, the whole thing is about like how not just pop music, but also like like pop magazines like Cosmo and Teen Cosmo or whatever all the other ones. I don't read them, but um, make girls feel bad about themselves so that these pop stars can make them feel good about themselves, and just like this cycle of like money. And I thoroughly, I mean, it's a funny song. It's in What, but the version on the YouTube video is better than the one in the comedy special. Um, but Make Happy. So Make Happy, like I said, this is probably the one where I mean, one of the things he likes to do is tell you he's lying to you. I mean, just straight up tell you to your face. I'm never honest. Like that's not what I do. This isn't part of what I'm doing. And it's such an interesting dichotomy from, I'd say, our politicians, that sort of thing. These people who tell us that they're telling the truth while lying to our faces. And then you have Bo who's lying to your face, but being real and telling you that he's lying. It's a very, and then it ends with Kanye rant. If you look, do it in this order, like I said. Watch What, then watch Make Happy. But the final number in Make Happy is a Kanye rant where he talks about like what it is like to perform. It's very much a swan song. You can tell that he doesn't want to do the stage anymore. And he's talked about it. And he talks about it in eighth grade in interviews with eighth grade, how, he's pretty much done. He doesn't feel like he wants to talk through himself anymore. It's really fascinating though, because most comedians, and I've heard Jim Gaffigan talk about it, complain that people expect comedians to do everything but comedy. Where you have Bo Burnham, who has done comedy for 12 years, and it's him who chooses not even just. I mean, what Jim Gaffigan was talking about was mostly just was about having to act, that sort of thing. And you see Bo Burnham do this on his own, to his own accord. I mean, he produces and stars in Zach Stone is going to be famous, and it's pretty much a flop. I mean, from all perspectives, except for how it has been received afterwards. If you look at IMDb, it has really great ratings. It's like an 8.2 out of 10. Um, but it like to put it in perspective for that one, yeah, it might have been 8.2 out of 10, but only 2,000 people watched the show while it was up. It would be, after all this time, in the bottom like 5 of his YouTube videos, and it was 6 episodes. That's cumulative. That's total. That's 2.6 million views for all 6 episodes combined. 4 hours worth of material. I see, not 6. 4 hours total, but this is, so it was about 20 minutes per for 6. That's like 2 hours of material. 2 hours of material. His longest thing to date, including his newest movie, and it only gets 2.6 million views. But he never turns back. He never goes back to YouTube. He never goes home. Essentially, never goes back to his safe place. He instead turns around and forges on. His show, I've told you it's absurdist. I've told you it's all these things, but it's theatrical. It's a production. It's his stand up is not your standard stand up. It's song, not really dance, but song and lights, and and it has a lot of recorded audio that he's done before showing up, and it's a production. It's very much, it's theater. And like I said, I think this is honestly, I mean, all things being equal, it is impressive that he started from nothing essentially as a YouTube star. But this is like his first check. This is the first time he fails. Everything else he's done, a high school party does. High school party is pretty much a flop. It's his first produced music video, and it flops. It To date, it has 4.9 million views. As for I believe for his videos, actual songs, like full songs, it is the lowest of all his songs. It's his first produced video. His second produced um, is Words, 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 which does fantastic, relatively speaking, and then Repeat Stuff, which does well as well. But I guess I'm just amazed. I don't know. I'm impressed that he. I mean, like I said, he's failed twice. I think you look at it. I think High School Party was a relative failure, and so was Zach Stone. And I'd love, Bo, if you ever listen to this, I'd love to know how you felt about this. I'd love to know how you felt about these failures and how you overcame them to push forward. Because now we have in 2013, as Zach Stone's going to be famous, he then releases What in December. So he then leaves Zach Stone, goes on tour, finishes his tour, and releases What, which is second most popular YouTube video. I mean, it's an hour long. It's a full comedy special, and it's awesome. I mean, it's probably what has made him what he is today, is in stature. And then Make Happy, which is his Netflix, which is awesome as well. What and Make Happy are just fantastic. But I mean, just to rebound after trying something new. It's one thing to. There's one thing that, I mean, he had success. He had his YouTube videos, plugging away, knocking them out, doing well every single time. He's just sitting in his room, playing his guitar or piano, just knocking them out. And then he Tries something new, tries to make a music video, it fails. Doesn't matter. What is it? A little less than 2 years later, he makes a new one. It's awesome. He then makes another one, and then after that one, he then makes this television show that fails. He just goes to stage, doesn't go back to YouTube. I'm just respect, man. Respect. You try something new, you learn lessons, you come back and that's. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what the American dream is. The American dream is the same dream anybody else has. It's working as hard as you can and picking yourself up off the ground every time you fail. If you love something, you can make it happen. And this is a great example of it. So, June 6, 2016, Make Happy comes out. He goes on tour. This is one of his tour stops. And then it's released on Netflix on June 3rd. And then 2 years later, July 13th, 8th grade is released in Los Angeles and New York. So this is what you came here for. This is what I promised. Is my my critical review of 8th grade. As you can tell, I've been a fan of Bo's for a long time. I've watched a lot of his stuff, and I had read some reviews. It's a 98 or 99 on Rotten Tomatoes, which I know Rotten Tomatoes isn't everything, but a 99 is pretty indicative of a quality movie. But I guess just to start off with, it's an excellent movie. Mind you, I've never been an 8th grade girl, but I have been in 8th grade. It's been a few years now. But what I was so impressed by Bo Burnham's directorial debut was his ability, what he was able to get out of his star. I mean, Elsie Fisher was fantastic. She's the 8th grader. But to get such a real performance, you have to understand, with a movie like this, performances are a combination of actor and director. and he wrote and directed this. And I can't say I'm that surprised. After seeing where he came from, seeing his music videos to that final, everything that he went through, all of the failures he had, the successes, but also just ending on that, I feel like the biggest indicator that this was going to be what it is that final song in Make Happy, the Kanye rant. He tells you he's lying to you, but there's so much honesty in his craft. And that is what he gives us in 8th grade. I don't know if there is a more honest representation of middle school, especially not in our age, obviously, but maybe just ever. Because while, he goes into social media, he shows us how they use it nowadays, and all the consumption, all the pictures, all how they need to get approval and all this, but just the insecurity of an 8th grader. I mean, I think the entire audience who's not in 8th grade is just thanks their lucky stars they're no longer in 8th grade. Because of the combination of insecurity and just your body's changing and just the cruelty that people can be in 8th grade. Because they're insecure. And they get a little bit of power by being popular. I mean, the fact that he's able, like I said, it's not that surprising to me that he was able to give that to us. And make us all relive being in 8th grade again. And make us all relive, trying to deal with the opposite sex and make friends and deal with our parents. um, and honestly, I've seen what I've seen make happy. I know what he can do, but the fact that he like his use of sound and his use of lighting is just incredibly mature for someone who's never directed a movie. I mean, he's done, like I said, his comedy specials are very theatrical, but um, a great example of this is when she's going to a pool party and she's changing into her bathing suit and she comes out and the light is all in front of her. So she's not backlit at all. And you just see like this dark blob of a person walk forward slowly with their head down to the ground, facing the ground, and then out into the light. And just like it is palpable the pain she feels. And I do think in some ways she is a caricature of what an actual eighth grader is. But that's okay. She's it's a movie. I mean I get it. She very I hope that very few eighth graders are in the position that she's in. In the movie, she basically has no friends. She's lost her mother at a very young age, and she's incredibly shy. Um, like I said, I hope that most eighth graders don't find themselves in in her specific situation, but I think we can all find ourselves in some of her situation. We can all see ourselves as you know as this eighth grade girl as she struggles with everything. Struggles dealing with peer pressure, and in this day and age, eighth graders sending nudes to each other. She deals with the popular girls. She deals with going up to ninth grade and getting peer pressured by high schoolers. Um, but in the end, she's able to kind of work things through. I don't want to ruin. I don't want to ruin it. This isn't a. I'm not very good spoiler-free reviews, but I highly recommend. It just came out today that the eighth grade is going to be coming to basically going to be released nationwide on I believe August 4th. We pull up the maybe it's August 3rd. Excuse me, August 3rd, Friday. That's next Friday. It's going to be released. It's going to get a little bit bigger. On the 27th of July. But then that's this upcoming Friday, and then the Friday after that is going to be released nationwide, which I think is just exciting for Bo, but exciting for all of us. It really is a defining movie of our generation, of this generation. Obviously, my generation's a little older, but this generation and I love how it doesn't belittle children. I think we are so quick to denigrate children rather than to look at them as little adults, just struggling through the same things we've all struggled through. It is easy. It's always easy to look down on another person than to try to look at them and be in their shoes. And I mean, I really think that's what Bo has accomplished. he through the medium of film is able to make you an eighth grader again, make you feel what you felt, what she's feeling. Um, I can't wait to see it again, to be honest. And I recommend, if you can hear my voice, if you're listening to this, I recommend you go see it. Um, because at the end of the day, we vote with our money when it comes to entertainment. And I would love to see what he has coming next. I think it's coming. This one will probably get Oscar nods. Elsie Fisher's fantastic. The script is fantastic. Bo's fantastic. I think, as a director, I think he's also got a bunch. I think the cinematography is fantastic. Like I told you, the view back, for you then flash was crazy. So what's so interesting about that scene where she goes out and like onto the pool, it you see all of her shame, and then it goes out, and it makes it seem like it's a completely like foreign world that she's going to, with all these kids doing all these crazy things and looking like little aliens almost. Um, Again, yeah, like support him so we can get more films from him. That's how people get, you know, reception and money is how they get to make more films. So uh, I for one hope he does make more films, and I'm excited for whatever's coming next from Bo Burnham. Um, but as usual, that's all I had to say about that. I appreciate you listening. We are available on Spotify, YouTube. Uh, Recently got on Instagram. We're on Twitter at Real Sam Shannon. Uh, we're also on iTunes, Stitcher, Twitch.tv every Tuesday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Uh, Please like, follow, subscribe, whatever you can to share it with your friends. Get the word out. And if you have any comments, DM me on Twitter if you any feelings. This one not that controversial of an episode. Just want to fantastic movie. But if you don't think it was great, tell me why you didn't think it was great. Tell me whatever issues you have. Just hit me up on Twitter. Uh, I'm always interested. And again I appreciate your time, and have a great week. Well, interesting, interesting. All right. Well, if there's any questions from anybody in the chat, this is the time. I am always available. Would love, but if not, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here and start getting everything uploaded. All right, peace.